welcome to the JTM Community Podcast, where we are building a community you can bank on. I'm your host, Tasha Melvin. If you are watching this, you know who our guest is, as she has been on the podcast several times, not for a long time, though. If you are listening to this, we'll get into that in just a moment. Of course, if you want to touch base with me for advancement advising, you can do so at j-tm.community. If you want podcast specific info, just add a /podcast to that. Of course, on the top right hand side are all the social medias. Go ahead and join our Facebook group. There you'll get daily notifications. On Mondays, you'll get the notification of a new poll that goes live. So you all determine the topics and essentially vote, and that becomes a future episode. You can engage, send DMs, give us your feedback, your thoughts, your ideas, your stories, and those always get turned into a topic for the future. Of course, if you're looking for resources, both nationally or in the Mount Pleasant, Michigan area, you can find those on the website under Community Partners. Without further ado, Tasha Melvin, who has been on the podcast, I want to say 5 times before. So if you enjoy these episodes, of course, you can check out previous episodes with her on there as well. A little bit of an intro for those of you who haven't seen anything, any previous episodes with her. Tasha is my sister, hence the same last name. She has been, I'm going to get this wrong, working in the insurance arena for 12 years, I want to say.
Close, yep.
How close was I?
A couple months off, maybe.
Oh, hell yeah. That's right then. I count that. She has been doing that for 12 years. She also is a mother of 3 with 2 older children, and then she decided to hit the reset button about 9 years ago and give her another rip. Anything that I'm missing or you feel would be helpful for folks to know about you before we move on?
No, let's roll with it.
All right. So we will be going through essentially 4 different topics. So this will be a series. The first one will be on, part 1 will be on hesitation. Part 2 will be on distract versus neglect. Part 3 is on what is your narrative and why. And then part 4 is where were you 5 years ago? Where will you be 5 years from now? So we'll dive into the first part 1. Again, that's going to be on hesitation. It will be about 30 minutes. Everyone will have a 30-minute timer visible. That way, if you pick up and drop the podcast here and there for your convenience, you know kind of where you left off. So when you think of that idea, hesitation, what does that mean to you?
So hesitation to me, I just need you to picture this, okay? So you're outside on a windy fall day, okay? And you're 39 years old and you've never done a cartwheel in your entire life, right? So you put your hands up in the air and you give it a running start, and right before you flip, you do that second hop, and you can't flip, right? That's the hesitation.
What do you think goes into that then? Like, what stops you?
Fear.
Okay.
Absolutely. And
fear
I think,
of what?
Well, in that situation right there, that would be the fear of being hurt. But I think in life with hesitation, I think the same thing stops us. Okay. It is fear. And for the most part, it's the fear of change. Change is great in small doses. When it's a big change, there's a lot more hesitation, a lot more excuses, a lot more reasoning. You know, that's what I think of when I think of hesitation.
Yeah, no, I think that paints a very vivid picture. For me, I think that not unlike you, but maybe a little bit different, is not necessarily fear, though it can absolutely be fear, but discomfort, and not necessarily of change, but the unknown. So if I told you guaranteed if you do this thing, you're going to make the cartwheel, guaranteed, right? Like guaranteed, to the point where you knew that at your core, okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like I said, if you bought this lotto ticket, you are guaranteed to win. It literally says it on the ticket. Of course, you're going to buy it, and it probably wouldn't matter how much it costs, right? Because if the lotto was 300 million and the to buy that ticket and it was guaranteed cost you 60,000, you'd probably sell your house to buy the ticket if it was guaranteed. You'd probably do almost anything.
Well, I think with, everybody has different types of hesitation in their life.
Oh yeah,
But that goes through their walk of life
sure.
as well. So me, I tell everybody at my work that my hesitate, like when I trust somebody 80, 90%, that's all the trust that I have to give. But again, that goes to my walk of life, right?
Sure.
So even if you were to come to me now, if you were to come to me and say, hey, if you buy this lottery ticket, you're guaranteed to win. I trust you completely.
Sure. That's
right?
not true.
No, that is true.
100%.
90%, because that's all I can give.
Okay, that's fair. So 90% isn't completely.
But that's my completely.
Okay.
Okay. So now if you were to say that ticket, there may be a little hesitation.
Sure.
With that, you trying to give me that ticket, like, okay, well,
especially if it costs a lot of money.
Sure.
If it's $1, you'd be like, yeah, here you go.
And that has to do with the risk, right? So
good word.
Now, sorry.
That was a good word, risk.
Yes. So if you were to, if I met somebody, it could be the president of the United States or past presidents of the United States, or okay, let's not use presidents of the United States. It could be just somebody random that I might be able to trust, right?
Sure.
Even then, I don't know that I could trust them enough to sell my house for this lottery ticket, even though it's guaranteed. Because the risk doesn't outweigh, the risk to me outweighs the possibility.
So what I really hear you saying is that they're saying it's guaranteed, but you don't feel that it's guaranteed, so the risk is still there. So even if something is communicated, because at that point you're not gauging the lotto ticket, you're gauging the honesty of the person telling you the thing.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, that happens all the time. I'm countless, each and every day. I probably get 2 phone calls and about, not exaggerating, 50 emails that are all scams.
Right.
Right. And they all come with a guarantee.
Right. And even like emails, and I work for, a big company, and we get, faxes and stuff for previous agents. Hi, my name is so-and-so from this other country. And, I'm on my deathbed and I want to send you a whole bunch of money. You're my last known relative, even stuff like that, where people are pulling at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to, and I mean, that's getting way out there when it comes to hesitation, but I think even you have hesitations in changing jobs.
Yeah.
Like me, I've worked for the same company for, let's say, 12 years. It would be hard for me to take a risk, even if they're saying, hey, we'll pay you double what you're making, all your benefits. And I mean, yeah, that sounds good. And I believe that that's what they're going to pay me because they're a big company as well.
Sure.
My hesitation is, how long will they keep me?
It's the unknowns again. So you could know exactly how much money, you could know exactly the benefits, you could know exactly the days that you're working in office, what your hours are. What you don't know, and that they can try to convey it, but you don't know, is what is the fit? Right? Are people there assholes? Do I get along? Is there flexibility? Is there a sense of humor? Which are all different types of value in things that I know that you have in working with Hannah, and have had even before her with Clara.
It's that fear, and you got people that, or again, fear, risk, whatever it is. Well, anytime there is risk, there is a slight sense of fear.
Yeah.
Am I
At
saying
least
that
discomfort?
Yeah. But there's discomfort because of the fear of the unknown. Some people love to skydive and bungee jump. That's not for me.
Sure.
You know, I'm not trusting that rope that's smaller than my wrist is going to make my fat ass bounce back up. I don't believe that. I don't trust it. The risk is not worth it to me.
Yeah, because the risk is your life, essentially.
Right. And to me, no, I'm okay. I can watch you do it, but I ain't going to watch my kids do it. You know, I think it's the fear of the unknown. It's the, you know, does the rewards outweigh the risk? You know, there's a lot that goes into any type of change. And that's where we're hesitant is with change.
Sure.
You know, even think of, you know, you're on Facebook and you see, this recipe looks really, really good. So what do? We look at the result, or we look at the
reviews,
the ingredients and the reviews, right? Okay, so how do we make this? Now, let's say it says confectioner's sugar instead of powdered sugar or granulated sugar. Now we're like, okay, well, we have to look up what confectioner sugar is, right? So then we're like, okay, well, this doesn't seem like I don't really understand this recipe. We'll go to the next. Even with recipes, we do it. There's that hesitation of making something new, doing something new, you know?
So I think what you're keying in on, and maybe it's simply another part of hesitation, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be with discomfort or fear. At times, it can simply be effort. Doing this thing, I know that I can do it. Do I want to put that much energy? Do I want to put that much money? Even if the energy and money isn't a risk, it's just effort, right?
Sure.
Go ahead.
That's where I go back to the risk and the rewards, right? If the rewards are going to be great, and the only thing I have to do is put in time and a little bit of money, right? If the rewards are going to be great, well, that's easy to do.
Sure.
Right? There's not as much hesitation because the rewards outweigh the risk.
Yep.
You know, that's when things become easy for us. So you got rewards, you got risk, and then somewhere in between, you got trust.
Sure. So before we started recording, we were chatting about projects.
Sure.
Right. So under the guise of risk, reward, and hesitation. So this has given us a unique opportunity to look back in hindsight. Because you've done projects after projects since you were in your early 20s, not late teens, I would say. Some projects for people, some projects
my coping mechanism.
Yep. Which stay tuned for that, because part 2 we'll get into that whole thing a little more. So under the guise again of risk, reward, and hesitation, when you're thinking of previous projects, whatever that means to you, can you think of moments that hesitation worked to your advantage, where hesitation worked to your detriment, or ignoring hesitation worked to your advantage or detriment? Does that make sense?
Yes. So has hesitation been beneficial? I can't say that it's ever been beneficial to me to hesitate, because we know that I don't really hesitate too long. Either I do it or I don't. Now, not hesitating, that has caused me some serious issues.
Sure, yeah.
Well, actually, no, let's go back. The hesitating too long. We were just speaking of my brain surgery.
Yeah.
I don't know this for a fact, but if I didn't think about the surgery as long as I did, my outcome could have been better. But that's could have, would have type thing, right?
Yeah, you don't know that for sure. It could have also been worse.
Right. Would I have had to have went through everything that I went through? Possibly not, but it could have been worse. But that's the only time that I can think of right now where I hesitated too long.
Okay.
Now
Can I challenge you on a few things there?
Sure.
So I'm not talking about a specific person, and because as you were saying that, a lot of images came with the idea of the devil you know, right? So I know there's been moments where you've hesitated to do a thing, whether it has been a friendship, a relationship, where it was not a good thing for you, but
Sure.
it was the unknown or the idea of being alone, whatever that
We
was.
You've heard me always say it's easier to dance with the devil that I know than the devil that I don't know.
Sure. That's
Um,
hesitation.
right. Well, I was going over to that in the sense of relationships, right?
Okay.
There's relationships where definitely I seen red flags.
Yep.
Me being a Taurus and being a bull, you know how we love red. So I just charge at it full force and, end up screwing myself along. But anyways, not a big deal. So I think with that, there wasn't enough hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being that there wasn't enough hesitation is, okay, well, this is just going to be a fun time, right? Or whether it's
So, and not enough hesitation at the beginning, and then too much hesitation
at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Where I think you in relationships, friendships, you know when things are done.
Sure.
Somebody crosses a certain boundary, you can't rebound from that.
So you change your you either end it or you change your boundary to accommodate it.
Sure. And I think when we change those boundaries, there's so many reasons or to others why they think that those boundaries have changed. Now, if we were to talk to somebody in a domestic situation that's like, I have to leave, you and I may say, well, why aren't you leaving now? Just go. Now, being a victim in a domestic violence situations,
sure,
there's more that goes into that. Again, the hesitation is fear, right? If I do get away, where do I go? There's the financial stability. How am I going to provide? The fear of that. The fear of, am I running from somebody for my entire life? There's the fear of, okay, well, even if I call the police, what's the repercussions of me calling the police? So there's a lot of hesitations when it comes into anything that's severely toxic. Now, and that's safety reasons, or
it's also by design.
Right.
So it doesn't go from being in this wonderful kind of situation with this immense understanding and great communication ability and love and care, and then that thing happens.
Sure.
It's built to that, so you have those inherent doubts and anxieties, right?
Right.
And again, by design, those things are kind of groomed.
And and that's exactly what they are. It is in those situations, a victim of that situation is usually at a low point by their abuser before they actually become abused.
Sure. Physically.
And you can do physically, and you can do the studies on that. There was a point in my life where I'm like, well, it's not the physical abuse that messes with you, because bruises heal.
Sure.
Right? It's the mental aspect. But now to switch over in hesitation in life and out of relationships. So for example, I had a house next door to me. It's been a problem house. I had the opportunity to purchase this house for a very cheap price. So I'm like, well, you know what? I could take escrow out on my home. My daughter was pregnant at the time, and I'm like, well, how great would it be that we are away from each other? We can live each other's lives. We can't see each other, but that we're close enough to where I can help if need be. As grandkids get older, or she can help with her younger brother, things like that.
Sure.
So Denny and I, we had this conversation. For those that don't know, Denny's my fiance. We had the conversation of, well, we can take escrow out on the house. We can purchase this home, and take out enough escrow to fix up the home to make this home livable.
Mm-hmm.
But even at that meantime, even before we had made a decision, we had to weigh out the risk versus reward.
Mm-hmm.
So the risk being, okay, well, maybe my daughter quits her job and she can't financially live there. Maybe we get into there and there's a huge issue with the property. And it does seem like we're running into projects after projects after projects with the house. But that was kind of expected for the price that we paid for the home. But even with that, the reward was, okay, well, even if we can't move my daughter in because she's financially can't afford it, I can rent it out.
Sure.
I can turn around and I can flip it. Like there was no way for me to lose financially on this house.
Sure.
We didn't take in the mental aspect of it all.
Yeah.
You know,
there was a greater cost than just money.
Sure. You know, when everybody sees what it can be, you know, we're like, yeah, we can do it. And like I told you before, you know, my problem is I expect me from other people. You know, so we don't have everybody on the same page, or everybody's not at the same work ethic, or don't know the same trades, or, you know, it's frustrating, especially when you're not just paying for companies to come in and do it yourself, you know.
Yeah.
But I still have faith, you know, mentally it's taxing right now, but I believe the reward, even on the other end, if she were to stay there, will be great.
Sure.
And even if she didn't stay there, you know, I don't have to worry about who's living back there right now. You know, because we had tons of issues before.
Yeah.
I think when you can look back at a project after it's been done, or a relationship, or anything that you've done in life, and you are like, you've come to the conclusion, I would do that same situation like that again. I think that's the only way of truly getting rid of future hesitation in similar situations.
If it's to kind of reflect on what you learned in the lesson from that, and that level of like competence. So even if it came at a loss in certain areas, what did you pull from that?
Right. Where was the growth?
Even if it's the idea of, I wouldn't do that again, right? Because of what I learned.
There's still growth there.
Yep.
And after that fact, even if it's something that you wouldn't do again, you know that there's no hesitation. The answer is just no.
Yep. And again, that's the growth. It's kind of again, using you as the example of the projects, again, whether that's relationship wise or working on homes, right, rentals, whatever those things would be. And we could go into parenting, like so many things. Literally every aspect of life falls under that idea of hesitation. Going back to that initial question of, can you think of a time where you did have like a level of hesitation and that actually served you? It served you well.
I do. I have a couple. I think giving my last relationship that I exited out of, how the exit was done.
Sure.
Even though there was a lot of hesitation there, but it was more on a safety standpoint. I believe that went well. I believe that, you know, when I was younger, I was a big reactor.
Sure.
You know, there was no hesitation. Jason, if you came to me and said, oh, this girl did A, B, or C, I didn't ask questions. Was a reactor, period. Sure. And now there's just so much thought that goes behind almost everything now, where number one, is this something that's good for me?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a for real thing?
What does that mean, a for real thing? Like, did it actually
A
happen
lot of
that
people,
way?
no, a lot of people talk,
Oh, sure,
right?
yeah.
So let's use mom for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? Mom was always quick to say, Big Dale did A, B, and C. I need you to come here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would go there without making any hesitation
Sure.
and stop whatever was going on. Only a week later for me to be the bad guy because he's back in the house or whatever the reason being.
Yep, you were the
Um,
scapegoat.
right. There was hesitation. There was hesitation when I switched. So I was with an agent prior to the agent that I'm with now.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed with other agents before making my choice when my agent retired. And there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of hesitation with, okay, well, this job's a lot closer, it's the same pay, and the hesitation of moving and choosing the agent. I mean, here I am at this agency, we're going on 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I would consider her to be one of my best friends.
Yep. And had you just
So
went with the closer thing for the pay, you wouldn't
right,
have had the relationship you have now. Yeah.
right, sure. Yep.
The a little bit ago, I had used the word when you're talking about domestic violence and kind of that acknowledgement of it. That thing doesn't just happen. Typically, there's like grooming towards that thing. I want to change that and take an opportunity to maybe create a healthy understanding with the use of grooming. So if we acknowledge that we can be groomed, so be essentially put in experiences that lead to a more and more likely acceptance of a situation. Typically, that would be used as with a bad connotation, right?
Right.
I'd like to put a positive spin on it that we can also groom ourselves or condition ourselves, right, through experiences. Again, going back and looking in hindsight when you've handled projects, whatever those projects be, whether things, people, or places, that all of those have serve the purpose of grooming you to be who you are now, to be more thoughtful and less reactive, to be more understanding and not just I don't want to say reactive. The word aggressive is coming to mind, but that's not quite what I want to say. It's your
No,
idea of
I would agree. I would agree with that.
okay.
Because when you're reacting on a situation in the sense that we're talking, I
Yeah,
believe that there is that uh, people look at the word aggressive as being mean.
sure.
Aggressive isn't a mean term,
Hmm.
right? I could say, "Oh wow, she goes to work, man, and she's aggressive with her sales."
Sure.
It doesn't mean that she's mean. It just
Hmm.
means that you're going at it with everything you have,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah, I think it's almost synonymous in a lot of ways, not 100% with accelerated, right? So and it can be a bad thing. So if you love aggressively, right? So I'm not
Right.
just in, I'm all in, even though there might have been a lot of those red flags, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even when it comes to like parental things, being aggressive with your support, like you can breach boundaries, you can enable behaviors. So I think throughout our whole conversation, the common denominator under hesitation is that it serves a function. It's when you do it too much, it becomes almost anxiety and it prevents you from even doing the good things,
Sure.
right? And if you don't do it enough, so there's a fine line in there somewhere, and it's a fucking moving target, right? So where you need to be more hesitant in this way, but in those moments you're more aggressive and you don't, things can go sour. And in other moments you need to be less hesitant, right? And take charge a little little more, and sometimes that can prevent us from having experiences of joy or love or fun.
Sure.
The messed up thing is, and it goes back to where our conversation started, it's fear of the unknown, because you don't know the opportunities that you missed or the shitty ones you've gotten into until they've already happened.
Right. And I think, with hesitation, the hesitation levels will never be the same for me. I can't write a book on hesitation and it fit your journey, So I think that's where it's what's supposed to keep us safe, but it has to be the balance of hesitation. That there's definitely a balance there that is supposed to keep us safe.
Sure. Yep. And it's our own experiences that come with it, right? So again, the difference between hesitation and anxiety, for one, or hesitation and fear. But there's also the other side of that coin. What is going on in your life right now that you wish? No, I'm not going to say wish, because you're in full control of this. What is going on in your life right now that you want to be more hesitant about, or that you want to be less hesitant about?
I want to be more hesitant in everything.
Is that your way to say
right now?
You need to fucking slow down a little bit?
I do. Okay.
So with that being said, what is something that you can slow down?
Well, I'm about to close up my camper today, so that's done.
That was gonna happen anyway.
Something that I could be more hesitant on.
Will.
I think I've been more hesitant with the new property and with the relationship between me and my daughter.
Okay.
And I'll go on to say that the hesitation with the property is I can only put into the home what they're willing to put into the home.
Sure. Yep.
I'm at a place in my life where I need to stop expecting me from other people. And I'm just being hesitant and not reacting in the project of this other property, in the sense of trying to understand everybody's journey and trying not to get pissed off. And I think that's not hesitant as in, oh, I'm hesitant to love my daughter. By no means. I love her with my entire heart. Just hesitant and becoming more mindful in when we're going to finish, how we're going to finish, and how we'll go about it.
Yep. It's kind of the idea of matching levels of effort, not in all things, but in the things that you're understanding. Hey, if I'm treating this with more urgency and importance than who it is for or who this situation belongs to, I'm doing myself a disservice. I'm stressing myself out because I'm allowing this to be more important. It's becoming a crisis for me when other folks' level of effort is super casual.
Right.
No, that makes a whole lot of sense. This is for you and for anyone listening where it's relevant for them, but I'm saying this because it is you, is the thing that I wish, and I can put myself into this as
wish
well.
Or could
wish, because I'm reflecting to the past. And I have gotten better. I still need to get better, if I'm being honest, is our willingness to ask for help.
Sure.
The amount of hesitation that is in that is
absolutely
like insane. And I mean that literally. Like, logically makes zero sense. Like, there's nothing that makes it make sense. It's not fear, because it's fear of getting help. I don't know if it's
No, but it's,
pride. I don't know what that thing is.
well, I think though it is the fear of people thinking that you're weak or needy, or the fear that people will talk, right? What was the other one that you said? It's not fear, it's not
As you were saying those
pride.
things, yeah, as you were saying those things, it clicked in my head what it is.
Yeah, and then pride, like, yeah, I wish, let's back to the property because that's what we're talking about. I
Sure.
wish that I could call up everybody that I know and be like, "Hey, come and help me work on this property."
Yep.
But then there's the fear of the talk of, well, why would she even buy this property?
Sure.
Why would she take on something that she knew that she couldn't do herself?
Mm-hmm.
Or, there's always we always worry about what other people think of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people do.
Sure.
But I think as a guideline, and I've said this millions of times to other people, is the people that mind don't matter.
Yep.
And the people that matter don't mind.
Anyone that gives a shit, they're not gonna say those things, right?
No.
And they might think like, "Holy shit! Like this is a lot of work. I understand. Like this was more than she could fucking chew because it's more than any of us. But when we come together, like this is a thing that we can do, and
Or
it's
you understand the journey as to why. Why did she
yeah,
take on this house? What did she think it was? Until we can actually crawl into somebody else's soul and body and mind, we'll
yeah."
never understand everybody.
Yeah. The cool thing is we all have the opportunity to have this conversation. So the answer, you could call somebody and say, "Hey, like can you help?" The answer could immediately be, "Yeah, absolutely, I can." And then through further conversation, it is like you can explain like this is a big project, but this is your intent going into it, which I think understanding the person behind the action or the person behind the deed is way more important. That's and when we don't have that understanding is when people can act shitty, right?
Right.
And that's a huge part of the problem with how people treat others, right? Is we
Sure.
don't take the time to understand there's a person on the other side of that a lot of the time. So again, it's just that idea of for all of us to be a little less hesitant when it comes to asking for help, whether that be professionally, personally, mental,
Mentally,
physical, yep,
physically.
whatever those things would be. For me, as you were kind of walking through, what clicked in is burdensome, right? And
Sure.
I don't even mean that in the sense of I'm putting my problem on somebody else, but it's the self value that I have. It's the same reason that I can just like make eggs for dinner and that's fine. But if you came over, that would be unacceptable,
Right.
right? Like I'm going to like make you a meal or like get to you something. So whatever dynamic that is, and I don't mean it in like a pity kind of way or even like a negative, as much as just matter of fact.
Right.
It's what I require for sustenance is lower, which makes in order for me to ask for help like that, there's a bigger gap in between there than I would consider to be acceptable for somebody else.
Well,
So,
I think that's where there's too much hesitation.
yep,
Because we talk ourselves out of it. If it was our pet or our child that needed the help, we'd be quick to go get it.
yep,
But we're
immediately, yeah,
so hesitant to get that help ourselves.
yep. So again, if any encouragement, whether past or present, future, would be for us all to be a little less hesitant in that regard. Thank you so much, Tasha, for joining me and doing this particular podcast again, covering the 4 episodes. Part 1 being hesitation, part 2 being distract versus neglect, part 3 being what is your narrative and why, and part 4 being where are you or where were you 5 years ago? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Of course, if
Yes.
you're catching us in any one particular part, check out the others. Tasha is she's my sister, not yours.
I can be everybody's sister, though.
That is true. That is true. As we've learned that the idea of um, familial doesn't just have to be by blood, but it can be by connection, by action, by word, by investment.
Yes, sir.
Your hair is so crazy.
I know.
Again, thank you for taking time this morning and now this afternoon. And thank you for everyone who has tuned in to enjoy the episode. Of course, if you want to touch base with me, you can do so at j-tm.community. If you want podcast specific stuff, just add a /podcast to the end of that. Social media's top right hand side. Go ahead, join the Facebook group. That is where you're going to get the notifications. Something gets posted every day, Monday through Friday. Motivation, inspiration, human connection, sometimes just a little bit of humor. As well, you can engage with the community there, vote for future episodes. By the time you all are hearing this, we'll be well into the holidays. So I hope that everyone has a joyful experience, whether it's filled with friends or family or has the lack of, but it is still joyful. Of
And
course,
safe.
and safe. Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of a community where you belong.